Welcome back to our show. It is our very first inaugural show. What's the name of it again?
The Cougar Chronicle.
The Cougar Chronicle. This is so exciting.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Every segment, every interview, every time we get to talk about those kind of things, again, just a great opportunity to highlight a lot of the great stuff that's going on and really try to put a focus on, in this case, for this interview, some of the things that we have that are going to impact the future of the school and really of education in general. But more just, can I just tell you this? It's so much fun just to be able to sit next to you and just have these great interview conversations.
Well, you know, the enthusiasm is a good thing. And I know you'd be nothing without our next guest.
Oh.
Or it'd be no one, because the two of you are amazing together.
Well,
so I'll let you do the introduction.
So sitting to my left is Mr. Michael Bessette, Assistant Superintendent.
Who we all know and love.
And has been with the district for a number of years, and not without too much, but I have really been blessed to build a really strong professional relationship with this gentleman, and I don't think people fully understand the amount of work that happens out of his office, and it's kind of like when we talked about what the duties and responsibilities. There were times like, okay, so what am I going to be doing?
Right.
And so, as we kind of develop and get things going, and what a great opportunity to highlight some of the work that's taken place that really is starting to flesh itself out here. And one of those things that I wanted him to come in and talk about, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
So glad you're here. Now, first of all, do you agree? Do you like this guy?
I do.
Okay, I just needed to know. I need to get that off.
There. But it's on camera now, so now I can't deny it.
He is downplaying it, though, and I think it's important to realize that the two people working together in this role is an absolute necessity. There are so many things we're asked to do in administration these days, that to have a partner and the ability to be able to divvy up the load, to check on the things that we need to do in order to bring effective practices to bear, we have to have.
And Michael, you've been doing this for years. You know, you are good at this job, and you know what you're doing. You know the district, you know the students, and you know the culture. And so we're so grateful for all the time you've put in. But now it's heightened, seeing the two of you together. You're like two peas in a pod.
We resonate. I think that's a good word for it.
We jokingly said that he's the yin to my yang. So it's like puzzle pieces. Because really, the piece of it is we really invested a lot of time from when I got named in November, really trying to kind of figure out what are our roles going to be within each other's lives professionally. And I think the biggest piece is that we have very, very similar beliefs in how things should be. School, in growth, in just a lot of different things. Sometimes not even our choice in food, those things differ, but we work through those things.
Whatever.
But at the end of the day, we have different styles on how we get those things done. But without saying that we are in pretty much lockstep on our decisions. And when we're not, we have built the capacity within each other to really have those discussions. So that way, when a decision does get made, there's no daylight between us. And it's not ego, it's not position, it's not title, it's success of the district,
And
period.
speaking of titles, you are the assistant superintendent, right? And so working together, assistant superintendent, and it sounds like you're dividing those duties and you're making it happen. Yeah,
that's a pretty effective decision. I mean, we look at the total load of things that need to be done. We talk about things all day long, and I think we spent more miles in a vehicle together this year than I have in my whole professional career going back and forth together. So it's been fantastic.
Well, first day of school, it did my heart. So it was so warming to my heart to see you both together in the schools, visiting every single school on opening day. It was wonderful.
Got to all of
pictures.
them, and it was just an absolute blast. And that was, as we talked, there's so many things that we have to do, so many responsibilities that we both have, that for me, traditionally, that was the one gift that I always gave myself, was the first day of school. I don't do meetings unless they're emergencies. It is all about just reminding ourselves why we spend the long hours in the summertime, why we do 4 nights a week with meetings and things like that. Sometimes you have to deal with the angry phone calls and all that. But when you see kids getting on and off a bus, when you see the new backpack, or the kid has the new haircut, and that kind of stuff, it just makes it all worthwhile.
It does, and I have to tell you, the first school board meeting I attended this year, there are some serious issues on the table.
Yes.
And seeing you both taking those issues seriously and working together to resolve them, and working on behalf of students and the community, I thought this is a happy team, but they're a serious team.
Well, we're partners, and that's the important piece. Is that whole thing? It's us. And we are growing the us from, it started with the two of us, and then we grow into our administrative team, and we keep getting that whole thing together, that it's not, no, as I mentioned before, you know, nobody's too good to dig a ditch. You know, if later today, you know, Michael's going to have to, he's providing support for one of our principals, and it's going to be filling that principal role. And if I have my license, if I can, once I get on the roster and we'll drive a bus, it's whatever it takes to make sure that the needs of our staff is being met so that they can meet the needs of our students.
Okay, you two. So Halloween has just passed, and Halloween can be a little scary for children. It's a little scary for me, because let me tell you what I'm really afraid of. And I know I've been looking into it, I've been doing research, I know that learning can occur in really good ways. AI just scares me. It scares me.
Every time you bring that up, you get a shudder. Every time.
And why, you know, well, first of all, I'm pretty rational, I'm a retired teacher. Why does it scare me?
I think a lot of it becomes the unknown, you know, and it's the, we see movies and we see TV and we read the Ray Bradbury stories and all of that stuff, that the machines are going to be taking over,
old, right,
you know, and then the pictures of the Google car that's self-driving and everything, because our default is fear. We immediately go, we become afraid of what we don't know. And so Michael's been spearheading and leading a lot of stuff within the idea of researching AI as our tech integration specialist.
He's doing amazing things in education, right?
So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to have him come in and kind of talk about how we're exploring AI in the classroom and some of those tools. We're gonna try to bring the fear down. And again, like I said before, it'll be okay. She will survive. This is not an AI creation of her. This is truly her. And so just to kind of dive into it a little bit and see how we're using it.
So help me out, Michael. Help me understand how it sounds like it's an effective tool.
By no means am I an expert in AI. I just want to establish
But
that.
you know more than
I'm
I
on the
do.
ride just like everybody else. This is year 32 for me in education.
Yes.
But as I think back about those 32 years in working in education, there have been some things that have happened along the way, and I'm sure they were there for you too when you were in education, that revolutionized the way that we work both with the students as well as with as the professional in the room themselves. AI is one of those things. Put it on the same level with a calculator. Put it on the same level with a computer.
PowerPoint.
Put it on anything from the
You know,
word
that was new.
processor. I mean, when I was in school, TRS 80, we were laughing about you know, Oregon Trail and playing Oregon Trail, which by the way they now do in three-dimensional you know units that they're putting on their craziness, right? But think about it from this way. When you first encountered that computer as an educator and you saw that thing on the table, or the internet for that matter, the world changed for you as an educator. It also changed for those students, right? So this is no different. It just seems like it carries with it some sort of perception that this may replace me. You know, the Terminator moment or whatever it might be, right?
Exactly.
And it really isn't about that. What it really comes down to is how are we going to use tools to engage our educators in working smarter, not harder. And it really does some amazing things that as an educator, former teacher, and as a principal, I've always heard teachers come forward and say, I just don't have the time. I don't have the capacity to go out and to do some of these things that we know are best practice for kids, because with 25 kids in a room and X number of needs with the pressure on them for personalization or differentiation, there just wasn't time in the day.
Sure.
And these were good, hardworking people. They're going home at night correcting papers. And English teachers, you know, where you're trying to work out and try to bring all those things to task, right? AI opens up the door to efficiencies and opportunities for creativity that we've never had in the educational profession, and it does it in a faster, cheaper way, and it's eye-opening. So when we use these tools, what we're forgetting about is we have to sit down and slow down, and we have to ask ourselves, and I mean this with specificity, why are we using this tool? What are we putting into place for? When we work with kids, if we don't know the why behind why we want to use this tool, you wouldn't use your calculator in every single aspect of doing mathematics. As a math teacher, you wouldn't do that, right? You would find opportunities to engage it so that you could get deeper on some of those concepts without having to worry about the calculations component, because that's not what you were trying to teach. You already knew they knew how to do the calculation. It was about how can I use the concept and apply it. And that's what AI opens up a door to.
Gotcha. So if I'm a kindergarten teacher and I'm taking my children on a leaf hunt and I want a pretty little graphic for them, you know, to say, look for the following leaves, instead of pulling out the book and getting my stock art and cutting and pasting, copying, putting it on, I can ask
AI to do
AI
that for
to
you.
do that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And if you don't like the first result, you change how the prompt is, and you get to, with your words, do the editing.
Wow.
And so the tools out there are just incredible.
But again, think about it from the consensus of the knowledge of a kindergarten teacher, because that's a great
Right.
example, right?
Sure.
First thing we have to ask ourselves after we ask, why are we using the tool,
Right.
is this developmentally appropriate for those kids to be using the tool in the first place, right?
That's
so
the safeguard.
maybe it's not about the
Yep.
kids using the tool, maybe it's about the educator. So you remember those days when you were sitting there in front of the kids and you were trying to work with word choice with kids,
right.
and so you wanted colorful vocabulary, right?
Right.
In a moment, I mean, I'm getting chills thinking about
Oh,
this.
I know,
literally
I am too,
goosebumps.
really, yeah,
On
I
your
know.
board in
It's
front
not lying.
of you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. And your board in front of you, you're literally saying, okay, Johnny, tell me about the leaf that you just saw. Well, what color is it? Okay, it's orange. Okay. Okay, you write the word on the whiteboard, orange, right?
Right.
And then you turn around and you say, okay, how big is the leaf? What type is the leaf? And you build those vocabulary words for the kids, and you get a list together, right? Now you take that same list, and in the magic of the moment, you turn to your AI and you say it, because you don't even have to type it anymore. You say, I would like a picture of a red leaf that's a maple leaf, and I want it to be falling out of the maple tree onto a dark ground or whatever it is. And in literally 3 seconds, an image is literally created in front of you of exactly what you just described for the kids. And think of the magic of that moment where now you can refine that image back and forth with the kids.
With words they gave
with
you,
words they provided.
vocabulary they have
Yes.
just learned, and what they're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really de-escalates fears, doesn't
Right,
it?
it sure does. It supports the learning process. It doesn't replace the learning process.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the danger is there.
Okay.
If we turn the key over and we just give them a tool and say, go out and use this tool,
Right.
the equivalent is asking somebody to use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. You might be able to get something done. It's not going to look pretty in the end for
Gotcha.
for anything.
Okay, here's the other problem we have. Again, we could talk about this all day.
Yes.
A couple minutes left. And as your message as Assistant Superintendent, whether it's AI or other learning tools or some of the decisions you have to make as admin, what do you see is the most important aspect of your job?
Clearing the field. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I can do with John's support is to make the job easier for our teachers, not harder. We live in an era of compounding responsibilities. The federal government puts responsibilities on public schools. The state puts responsibilities on the public schools.
Yes.
Even ourselves, we put quality and other types of controls on our schools. Our community puts it, our board, everybody's putting pressures onto teachers to try to do things in a way that they believe are the right way to do things, or that's the most accountable methodology to get to that end. Our job is to sort that out, clear out some of that minutia that's not really important, and allow teachers the flexibility in the room to be able to do the art of teaching with kids, to move them from where they stand today to where they need to be tomorrow and desire to be as a student learner.
I think we need to get this on the road. These words are so wonderful, and we're so grateful, Michael, for what you've done in the past, for what you'll do in the future, and what you're doing right now with our new superintendent.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And we're going to bring you back, because I think you have a way of clarifying things. That's wonderful.
Well, there's so many more stories of things that
Yes.
are going on, and the beauty, Michael's been at the forefront of a lot of these great initiatives. Our Portrait of an Educator, Portrait of a Learner, Portrait of an Athlete, as we develop.
Will you
more
come back and
things.
talk about that, because our time is wrapping up? I'd like to
Absolutely.
hear about a portrait,
Sure.
of an educator, portrait of an athlete. So maybe, next segment, can we
100%.
bring Michael back in?
Absolutely.
Because I think that's going to be
Happy to
really
do it.
significant. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and thank you for making this a wonderful district.
It was already a wonderful district. It's just polishing the diamond.
There, there we go. Well, coming up, you know what we're going to do? We're going to ask the superintendent.
Great.
Ha ha.
Thanks.
It'll be fine.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you coming up in just a minute, and we're just going to introduce the segment. You won't be on the hot seat today, but that's
Oh,
coming
no
up.
questions today. Okay, that's good. Then
Stay
I'm
with
looking
us.
forward to the next segment.
And don't forget, this is the...
Keep it coming.
See you in a bit.